Hi again. Yeah, I, Zak Wolf, am doing another vlog not too long after my previous one about something affecting the industry. If you guessed it's about Warner Brothers Discovery merger, you are correct. Normally, Wile E. Coyote would be here talking about such subjects, but he's still busy with Warner filming Coyote vs. Acme, which to start off has not been scrapped, thankfully, because so far the merger has become a real mess, especially involving Warner's huge animation library and HBO Max. It all started when the new CEO that came from the merger, David Zaslav, made the statement that HBO Max is stuff that caters to boys, i.e. being a house of fandoms, and Discovery Plus is content appealing to girls. And in this day and age of gender neutrality, people won't stand for it. Heck, before the merger, the Animaniacs revival brought it up in their theme song.
Gender balanced, pronoun neutral, and ethnically diverse.
Of course, that was Animaniacs lampshading having to be politically correct, as they've been famous for. And then the Jellystone reboot series, created by C.H. Greenblatt, gender swapped some of the male characters. In that case, due to how most of the old Hanna-Barbera cartoon stars were male. So now we got a female Augie Doggy, Yacky Doodle, Jabberjaw, Squiddly Diddly, Loopy Dee Loop, and others. But anyways, that just started a series of unfortunate events at the merger. This led to projects being cancelled, such as new shows and movies from HBO Max, such as the Batgirl movie, a Wonder Twins reboot, the Scoob Holiday Hunt special, J.J. Abrams' Demon, that Not Too Late show with Elmo spin-off, and others. Then he also had HBO Max downsize much of their library for kids and family, until several Cartoon Network shows like Infinity Train, Mau Mau, Uncle Grandpa, and OK K.O. Let's Be Heroes. No, not that K.O. But as part of this, HBO Max also went and removed 200 episodes of Sesame Street from the service. All of them pre-2009 episodes. So that's a lot of classic material from the show's first 40 years disappear from public view once again. It's a good thing a couple years ago I recorded and uploaded that Sesame Street news segment from the 80s with Dr. Nobel Prize inventing the robot duplicate of Kermit, Sherman the Hoppity Hop, because that was one of the episodes and hadn't been uploaded here on YouTube in English before. And of course, this is also hurting much of Warner's animation legacy, because in addition to Warner Brothers Animation, which had been around for 92 years now, Warner Brothers Discovery also has Cartoon Network Studios, which started out as a subsidiary of Hanna-Barbera in the 90s, itself a subsidiary of Warner Brothers at the time, to produce Cartoon Network's in-house original shows. But then as part of acquiring Hanna-Barbera through the Turner merger, starting in 1998, WB began the process of folding Hanna-Barbera into Warner Brothers Animation, a move that was finalized in 2001 with the death of Bill Hanna. And as part of this, Cartoon Network Studios branched off as a separate facility that continues to produce the CN originals to this day. Heck, Sam Register is now president of both Warner Brothers Animation and Cartoon Network Studios, because he used to work with Cartoon Network a lot before running Termite Terrace. And just a year ago, Warner went and rebranded Cartoon Network's European production arm behind stuff like The Amazing World of Gumball and Elliot from Earth as Hanna-Barbera Studios Europe, to honor the legacy left by the beloved television animation studio. But ironically, most of the reboots and revival of Hanna-Barbera properties have instead been produced at Warner Brothers Animation, and not just all the Scooby-Doo stuff since 1998. They even used a Hanna-Barbera throwback logo for some of their non-Scooby HB projects in the late 2010s, but they don't use it on Jellystone, possibly due to the Hanna-Barbera Studios Europe thing. But besides that, the way HBO Max is now scaling down on such content is indeed hurting them. It's too bad because they have such a great library of Looney Tunes shorts available, including the original run from 1930 to 2004 and the Looney Tunes Cartoons Revival talked about on this channel before. And now as a result of much of David Zaslav's meddling since the merger, Warner Brothers Discovery has lost $20 billion. I really hope this doesn't spell the end of the line for the beloved studio that created the Looney Tunes and now owns the rights to the old MGM, Hanna-Barbera, and Popeye stuff. Despite being CEO of the whole company in general, Zaslav is starting to sound even worse than when Bill Hendricks and then Sandra Schwartz were running Warner Brothers Animation. And regarding those eras, that brings up another thing. It seems Warner has often had bad luck with corporate mergers in many cases. I'm reminded of when Warner Brothers merged with 7 Arts in 1967, the era often associated with those cheaper Looney Tunes shorts on this YouTube channel. And then there was in 2000, when America Online merged with Time Warner, and that too only lasted a few years. And then, near the end of the last decade around 2020, there was when AT&T owned Time Warner for a while, renaming them Warner Media. It seems the only Warner Brothers corporate merger that went without a hitch was when Time Incorporated merged with Warner Communications in 1990. But I'm also hoping that Warner Brothers Animation doesn't shut down again, the way they did in 1953, 1963, and 1969. Heck, the reason for closure in 1969 was corporate as well, when Kinney National bought out Warner Brothers and eliminated 7 Arts from the picture. But while Warner Brothers Animation was able to eventually reopen after a while, at this rate I'm a little nervous. There are also a couple of Looney Tunes TV movies that were also to be made for HBO Max, and they're still in production, but will now most likely stream somewhere else. I'll possibly get a direct-to-video and digital release, in addition to airing on Cartoon Network is also planned. Heck, I know King Tweety was initially planned for an HBO Max release, but ended up going to DVD and digital on-demand platforms a couple of months ago. Then there's also the Tiny Toons Looniversity reboot in the works, but I'm not sure that'll still be on HBO Max. I heard it may still be airing on Cartoon Network, or the more inaccessible Boomerang Network. You know, of all this and shopping for a streaming service other than HBO Max or Premiere Looney Tunes related stuff, there's always the Boomerang app that started up over 5 years ago. And they do have a pretty incredible library. While HBO Max has a good variety of Scooby-Doo stuff, the Boomerang service has pretty much all the Scooby-Doo TV shows, except for some episodes in the new Scooby-Doo movies, the final episodes of Scooby-Doo and Guess Who, and maybe roughly half of the direct-to-video movies. And they also have many other old Hanna-Barbera shows and numerous classic MGM and Popeye cartoons, and they also have a decent selection of Looney Tunes cartoons, but not as wide as HBO Max, of course.
And both streaming services don't even have any classic cartoons I starred in, yet they have no problem showing me in the Looney Tunes show and Wabbit New Looney Tunes.
Yeah, I'm still hoping the Looney Tunes don't go into another downfall, like the one they had for much of the 1970s, and that one in the 2000s. And with that one, the failed AOL Time Warner merger had a part to play in it. It led to a lot of Looney Tunes merchandise being discontinued outside of the Six Flags amusement parks. And then when Looney Tunes Back in Action miserably bombed at the box office, partly due to subpar marketing from Warner Brothers and partly due to stiff competition from other big films at the time, the Warner Brothers head-ups decided that hand-drawn theatrical animation was dead, and the Looney Tunes were no longer relevant. So they brought the series of theatrical shorts to an abrupt halt with some pretty bad cartoons that keep the Sandra Schwartz tenure at Warner Brothers Animation, as he had largely retooled the beloved Termite Terrace to instead churn out realistic, serious action cartoons, as if they were Adelaide productions, possibly due to Adelaide's shows also running on Kids WB at the time, and so they kind of forgot how to do a good Looney Tunes cartoon short. The Duck Dodgers series, which was somewhat better than said shorts, ended up being cancelled, alongside the miserable-ish baby Looney Tunes, and had their final episodes held off for some time before being burned off on Boomerang. And then they pulled the classic shorts of Cartoon Network in October 2004 to make room for more Dexter's Laboratory reruns, meaning that aside from the largely inaccessible Boomerang, the Looney Tunes were not airing on mainstream TV anywhere for the first time in many decades. Since I mentioned about WB Animation mostly doing action cartoons, they tried to reboot the Looney Tunes as such a series with the infamous Lunatics Unleashed. that they now consider a huge mistake and swept under the rug. So bad that Cartoon Network and Boomerang outright refused to rerun it, at least in North America. Yeah, the mid to late 2000s was not a good time to be a Looney Tunes fan. But let's not dwell on the past. Right now we're in the present. There's lots of tensions with the Warner Brothers Discovery merger. If David Zaslav is smart, he'll step down from his position. Or maybe Discovery and Warner Media will sever ties. And all will be well. But they'd still need to then recoup their losses. This is partly why some of those nearly completed films have been cancelled, as it would save them money. Well, I'm not sure what else to talk about relating to this subject, but I can also let you know that Daffy Duck is also unavailable currently, as he's busy with filming 7 new Looney Tunes TV movies, which is why he didn't appear in this. And of course, keep watching my YouTube channel to see what happens next.